Welcome to Waterloo Human Rights in a hot Mississippi Minute. I'm your director, Abraham L. Funches Jr., and of course the Waterloo Human Rights Office is located at 620 Mulberry Street. Our telephone number, of course, is 319-291-4441. And one of the issues that I want to talk to you about today is the issue of voting, exercising the franchise, making the most of your right to vote for your representatives whom you want to make decisions on behalf of you in your local vicinity, as well as obviously on the national level. And of course, we have a human rights basis for all of this that came from the Human Rights Declaration. And it is Article 21, that deals with the right to democracy. In a very simplistic way of putting it, it just suggests that we all have the right to take part in the government of our country. Every grown-up should be allowed to choose their own leaders. And, one of the things that we've learned from the MLK Freedom Bus Tour that we take to Memphis, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Selma is that when we go down to Montgomery, in addition to obviously taking full advantage of going into the museums and seeing the lynching memorial and learning more about the Equal Justice Initiative, we are reminded that this home of the Confederacy, this capital of the Confederacy, was also the place where Dr. King and several other civil rights and human rights leaders converged to help the Voting Rights March of 1965. They developed the Voting Rights March of 1965. And the George Floyd of that day, Jimmy Lee Jackson, was obviously killed as he was involved with protesting in order to acquire that right to vote. And when he was, of course, laid to rest, and he was eulogized by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, they got together in the community and they began to march around March 21, 1965. They arrived at their destination, and that was the Capitol in Montgomery 4 days later, around March 25, 1965. And the whole push of this great effort was to make sure that people had the right to vote. They had the right to express themselves. They had the right to choose their leadership, because they all recognized collectively that a change was necessary in order to bring about the kinds of policy recommendations and implement those policy recommendations that were necessary to make community better. So what we try to do in the local context is remember what happened all these many years ago, so that we are not doomed to repeat the mistakes of yesterday or yesteryear. So on March 25, which is a Saturday, March 25, 2023, right here in the Cedar Valley, right here in the city of Waterloo, our plan is to galvanize some 50 to 100 people at least, so that we can meet at Lincoln Park at 10 o'clock a.m. We'll meet in the morning at Lincoln Park, and hopefully we will hear some inspiring messaging from leaders in the local community here, talking about the right to vote, the importance of coming together and talking out critical issues that face us on every side of the city. And then we want to actually engage in marching, to the Center for the Arts. We hope to conclude the whole event there. But one of the things that's really impressive to me is a quote that Angela Davis made some time ago. And that is, she said, we need to engage in the epistemological function of praxis. And in essence, what that means is that we learn by doing. Now, I know a lot of people, they always have an issue with marching. But keep in mind, marching is not the only activity that's needed or used in order to bring about transformative change in any community. Marching is just one aspect of the change involved. Marching, I would argue, is far to the left on the continuum a political praxis that one would engage in order to bring about the change you want to see in your community. But it is a critical component of the kind of action that you want to see in your community. So the idea, quite frankly, for the Human Rights Commission is that this is educational. You'll learn something about the Voting Rights March of 1965, and you'll learn some of the key personalities that were involved back then. It's outreach. You learn a little bit more about your human rights agency here in the city and how we collaborate with other entities that share our mission, share our values, and what have you. And then, of course, this is perhaps the catalyst of a movement, a continuation of a movement to apprise everyone, man, boy, and girl here in the city about the critical importance of justice administration and, of course, recognizing other people's human rights. So again, Voting Rights March reenactment, March 25th, that's a Saturday in 2023. In the event of inclement weather, we'll try to go inside at the Waterloo Center for the Arts, but I'm hoping that it's beautiful. I'm hoping it's warm like today, 40 degrees. It's balmy here in the Cedar Valley. And perhaps we can congregate with a little sunshine and enjoy ourselves on the outside so that we can engage in that march, because we learn by doing. And so please remember, we want to talk about the right to democracy. Waterloo Human Rights. This is your information in a hot Mississippi Minute. You have a great day.